Guys, today we are talking about John McAfee, the real only one legend. Who killed John? Or did he just suicide? Why did he die in a prison in Barcelona? Why was he in jail? Why was he wanted by the Interpol and the FBI? Was he a criminal? Was he a legend? He was definitely a legend. So let's go through the story. So who's John? And why did they do a Netflix, not only one, but two Netflix documentaries on him? So we have this one, Running with David, the history of John McAfee. And then we got Gringo, the dangerous life of John McAfee. So who was John? How did he go from being this guy, good guy, to this guy? Let's analyze his life. Born in 45 in England, actually. So actually in the UK, but on a US army base. So his father was actually American, or his mother, but anyway, his father, Don McAfee, because he was there through World War II. So his father was in the UK for World War II, in an American base where he was born. Unfortunately, then, once they went back to the US after World War II, so as soon as John was born in Virginia, his father was an alcoholic and used to do a lot of domestic violence, beat his mother, probably beat him as well. And then he suicided, with a gunshot. So yeah, not a good child, let's say. But he was born in this environment with guns, alcohol, but with a strict father still. And he went through college in mathematics. He got a bachelor's degree in mathematics, and he later said that mathematics, here it is. Mathematics always came easily to him. So he can have an innate talent. And then he went for a PhD in mathematics in Louisiana, but he didn't last much. He didn't last long because he was dismissed from the program after initiating a sexual relationship with an undergraduate student under his supervision. I'm not sure if this is true. He definitely didn't molest her or something. It was just a relationship because John was so fascinating. But anyway, he got kicked out. But still, he had a very remarkable career as a computer scientist. So first, at NASA, right? Like first position he got was at NASA. So that's good. So he worked, for the Apollo space program, and then he worked for the private sector, Univac, and then Xerox. And that's him basically in this kind of years. Let's go through. He was like this. This is him in the 70s. Okay. Actually, maybe this is still the late 60s. Then this is him in 74. So this was him, working for NASA first, and then for Xerox and Univac. So basically still like computer scientist. And then we went into consulting in the 70s, by the late 70s for Booz and Hamilton, which is basically intelligence. So he was kind of working in national security projects related to computer science. And then he joined the one and only Lockheed Martin, He joined Lockheed Martin, So if you don't know what Lockheed Martin was, it's aerospace, defense agency is like, it's like the number one military industrial complex industry. If you're Italian, basically this is the equivalent of Leonardo, and it's the number one in the world. Okay, so he had a very good career. Okay, he only lasted a couple of years in Lockheed, because then, or actually probably a few years, where he actually had, he was working for, let's see, he possessed a security clearance. He worked in computing systems in defense related projects. Okay, so very high level stuff. But then while he was working at Lockheed Martin, two Pakistani brothers, Amjad Farooq Alvi and Bazit Farooq Alvi, developed the first so-called virus, right? The computer virus. So these guys developed a virus that would spread on the floppy disks, right? Because most computers were not, you remember it's the 80s, not many computers were on the internet. So and anyway, it was slow to download. So on the floppy disk, they put some malware, some virus software that will just spread all over the computers. So while working for Lockheed, John developed a system that was later called antivirus. So he was basically the first guy in the world to develop the concept of virus in computer science and antivirus. So he was a real pioneer. He was basically the guy who invented, I can say that, I think. He's the guy that invented antivirus for computers. So in the 1987, he finally found McAfee antivirus. So if you don't know what McAfee antivirus is, still to this day is still here, right? This is the Italian version, but anyway, you can see this is they're still selling McAfee antivirus. So this is, protection, computer safety, basically computer security, you could say. Cut. So this was, the first antivirus company is still out there. This was founded by John McAfee, but he left McAfee a long time ago. Left like in the 90s. In 94, actually, he left. Let's go through it. Yeah. Fully resigned in 94. Okay. Because basically he was too much hectic, he was a crazy guy, basically. He was not the typical CEO. He was not Jeff Bezos or, Bill Gates, or not even, he was crazier than Elon Musk. As crazy as it seems, he was way crazier than Elon. Like Elon compared to him was nothing. It's nothing. He's nothing. He is the real legend. Okay, so anyway, he had to leave the company, and he sold his stake in 1996 for approximately 100 million. Okay, so yeah. So there you have it. He had like a lot of money in the late 90s. He was free, and he started doing all sorts of other things. Okay, so he launched basically some communication projects, like Pow Pow Social, basically a social. He started a social, actually, and text messaging, file sharing. I actually didn't know about this. He's a genius. Way before Facebook, way before Instagram, he was already doing social media. Of course, he didn't succeed because he was not part of the gang, part of the establishment, or part of the elite. So this project didn't really take off. So you can see ceased operations by early 2000s. So yeah, he just went on to other things. Especially, what are other things? So he had like, you can see here there is a gap in the career. By the early 2000 all the way to 2010, there is a gap in his career. So he probably just had fun. And a few things that he did was this one, in 2001 indeed. Oh, by the way, look at the coincidence here. This book was published September 10, 2001. September 10, 2001. I gotta buy this book. Absolutely, you need to buy this book. So he wrote a book actually called The Fabric of Self, Meditations of Vanity and Love. A series of short meditations on the issues that support or retard self-awareness. Awareness, fear, death, joy, love are among the issues addressed through the observation of John McAfee. So basically, let me search for it. He founded a kind of yoga center. Yeah, he basically did Arkansas since 1988. He founded a therapy center called John McAfee Workshop. That's him in those days, you can see, and he basically did like, yoga, mindfulness, all these sorts of things. And I think they're still active, because if the website is still on, they're probably still active. Let's see. Workshops. No, they're not still active. But anyway, you can see this is what he did. He went from being like computer scientist to, oh no, yeah, actually, it's still on. There are still, I don't know if it's a scam or something, but there's still, it's still on. This project is still living to this day. Arkansas Yoga and Therapy Center. So wow. So he went into the kind of spiritual life. That's why it's not here. There's nothing about it here. they just skipped it. 10 years of his life gone. But he did write a book, and he did have a yoga center, and this lasted a few years, in which he probably also did a lot of drugs, psychedelics, and stuff like that. But so he was opening his third eye, basically, right? He was a genius. And then, after that, he kind of came back. No, actually, before that, this is the hot part. So basically, in February 2010, 16 years ago, he founded a biotechnology company in Belize. Okay, if you don't know where Belize here is, let me just show you. So this is Belize. Okay, as you can see, it's not even a fully recognized country. The border is, it's not a real actual border. It's kind of contested with Guatemala, Belize City, Dangringa. This is the place. Just in the middle of Central America. A crazy place, not even recognized. And he just went here to do what? And that's why you got pictures like this one. This is him in Belize, okay, living life. But he was not just there to have fun parties and armed security. And no, he was not a criminal. He was not, at least he was not like a cartel guy. He was not selling drugs. He was not doing anything bad. He just had people with guns around him because many people were trying to kill him. The US government, the cartels. A lot of people didn't like what John was doing. This opening the mind of the people. But that's not the only thing he did. He also had a lot of information on how the government worked, on classified information. But mostly what he was doing in Belize, it was a biotechnology company with the objective of developing novel antibiotics derived from rainforest plants. But this is not the full approach. The full story here is that he was trying to use this quorum sensing mechanism to develop basically kind of a vaccines for any sort of thing. So what is quorum sensing? It's a form of basically it's the communication method that viruses use, or actually bacteria, sorry. So bacterias, each time they meet each other, they communicate their information and they basically upgrade. So if there is one bacteria that has been that has an upgrade, right? Look like a software. If this bacteria is more advanced, it's version 2, and this bacteria is version 1. When they meet, they automatically, they become version 2. And I mean, this is kind of the simplified way to say it. You can look at the full explanation here. He was trying to develop some antibiotics and, with plants such as this one, but unfortunately, no commercial products came out of it. Like basically, it was just starting a pilot, let's say, which was not successful. There is more to this story, and you should look like at full interviews, like this one here with his wife, where she goes through all the actual story. This just came out 4 months ago. She goes through the actual full story of what happened. But basically the story is while he was in Belize, he actually had some progress with these quorum-based antibiotics, but somehow the woman that he was working with went crazy and she burned down all the research. And while he was in Belize in roughly 2012, the beginning of 2012, some elections were coming up. Elections for the Belize government were coming up. And the new incoming party connected to the Belize cartel came to John's house and they asked him to basically give him $2 million. And in exchange of that, he could, do whatever he wanted. He could just, according to the words of John McAfee, he would have got thousands of acres of land next to the river, who then would have got super valuable, no taxes, all the women that he wanted, and so on and so forth. He refused. He said, I'm not into politics. And exactly 1 week later, to the day, he gets raided by the gang suppression unit. And so they enter his house, they shoot his dog, and they arrest him. He's sent in jail for 1 night. The next day, this same guy who came to him asking for 2 million, this cartel politician, came again and said, did you change your mind? Did you reconsider what we talked about? And he says, basically, get the F out of my property. So that's where the whole war with the Belize government starts. And basically John goes into a 6-month-long war with the Belize cartel. So there's shootings, there's chasings, and then after 6 months of pressure and war with the Belize cartel, according to John's story, his neighbor, right? They shoot his neighbor in the head, and then they blame him for that. He escapes Belize because they didn't charge him with murder, but they charged him with other things. But they said that they wanted to talk to him for things related to the murder, which is basically, John already knew that they were going to actually charge him with murder, because And he didn't want to go there. He didn't want to get caught by the Belize cartel or government, whatever you want to call it. So then he goes into like 3-4 months escaping into the jungle, and bullets are flying, according to John. So he escapes into Guatemala, and that's where he gets jailed. Into Guatemala, he gets jailed there, and but then in December 13, 2012, he gets out of prison, because basically the president of Guatemala didn't want all this media pressure, and anyway, according to John's version, he gets extradited to the US, and so they close all the boulevard in which the prison was, and from the prison to the airport. So he flies from Guatemala City back to Miami. So he's back in Miami, and yeah, the story is fun, but basically he's taken by Homeland Security, or US Homeland Security, and they tell him, we are here to help. There are like 2,000 journalists outside, so we have instructions to drive you anywhere you want. So where do you want to be driven? And he says, I don't want nothing, just bring me to the closest taxi stand. And so they bring him a taxi, and he goes to a hotel. So yeah, he was extradited. You can see he was flown into the US. You can see him coming back.
I think I had anything to do with this. I had no choice in this. I was whisked out of the prison. I was forcibly separated from Samantha, and here I am.
And he just got extradited to the US. So he got extradited to the US, and that you have to actually listen to the full story. That's where he met her, which then became his wife. So basically, John had many families, back in the 60s and 70s when he was young. He had some sort of conventional families, he was married, he had a couple of children. There's claims of him having up to 50 children. He probably had 50 sons, okay? Some are verified, some not. But, he had many families, but, being such an eccentric guy and dynamic person and such a genius, he moved on a lot of times in situations in his life. And eventually, the day when he came back from Guatemala, okay, so let's just imagine he comes back from Guatemala, he's flown all the way back to Miami, and then the thing is, by this time, the people probably were not sure if this is the Sinaloa cartel already. But yeah, anyway, there's a cartel. I don't know if it's the Belize cartel here or it's already the Sinaloa cartel trying to kill him. So he's already, he's wanted basically. There's a bounty on his head. So he's thinking, they're gonna try to protect me, but no protection. He's just flown to Miami and he's left like that. So he goes to an hotel. He's outside the hotel smoking a cigarette, and he finds 2 hookers. And he picks up one of them. Actually, he asked those prostitutes, like, hey, do you want to come? How much you cost? And they say their tariffs. And then he asked to them if one of them if they want some drugs. And one of them says yes, the other one says no. And so basically he picks the one that said no. And he probably still had drugs anyway. But the problem is, the thing is, this person eventually became his wife. So that's her, okay? She was a prostitute in Miami. I think it's Miami. Anyway, in Florida, I think it's Miami. And then they became basically married. So they've been married for the next 9 years till John's passed away. So she is the main, let's say, key holders in the story, because like she knows everything. She went on the run with him, and yeah. And so after this, a lot of things started happening in John's life. Okay, so he, well, first of all, you gotta look at this. He comes back to the U.S. and he's married to her, and but they are still on the run in the United States. Okay, they're in the United States. They have, he still had a few, some money here and there, some properties here and there. But there was somebody trying to kill him. The Sinaloa cartel, the Belize cartel, and the Belize cartel. Like, for instance, there is a story of him being in, I don't remember if it's New York, Boston, wherever he was, and then like magically there is a football match of Belize versus United States, something like that. So a whole team of football players come. They never played in the United States, but magically they have a Belize USA football match, and 22 Belizean, is that how you say it? 22 guys from Belize come in the US, and basically the same night they enter John's McAfee house. They basically they went to kill him, but he knew, and so he escaped in the night. And so this is the crazy story where, and you can listen to the whole story again from in this long form podcast. You can look at the whole story. But basically he was escaping from her pimp. She's called Janis. So she was a prostitute. She had a pimp, and this pimp was trying to go after him.
And John's head of security,
and then he had indeed a bounty on his head from the cartel, and the government was just like, yeah, go for it. The US government did not try to stop all this thing. So basically, you see, the Sinaloa cartel was spying on John, Belize hitman, track McAfee. Yeah, basically he was hunted by the Belize mafia, the Belize cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, and those are not good people, right? And they're quite powerful. But he was smart, so this is a crazy story. Just need to listen to her version of the story. Okay, there's many podcasts in which she does that. They escape from west to east to west, north and south many times, escaping these people trying to kill them. This is an untold story. Like, everybody, when they think about John McAfee, they think about McAfee antivirus, they think about his experience in Belize, they think about what happened later with the whole crypto thing, but they don't know that for years he tried to, and he successfully escaped many murder attempts from the cartel. So anyway, fast forward to, let's say, around 2016. Okay, let's go. Yep. 2016. In 2016, actually 2015, late 2015, he started like a campaign to become president of the United States. So yeah, he tried to become president of the United States for the Libertarian Party. Of course, he was not for the establishment, he was not for the Democrats, he was not for the Republicans, he was for the Libertarian Party. But of course, the Libertarian Party is just a third party which never even enters the race. So yeah, he did some political speech here and there for, libertarian-oriented campaigns, but eventually he was not elected, and so then we actually enter the most modern life of John. And that's when he started speaking about crypto, because of course, being him a mathematician, a computer scientist, a cryptographer oriented, anonymous oriented person, privacy-oriented person, freedom-oriented person. He fully recognized Bitcoin back in the early days was a good thing, a good technology. So he used Bitcoin, he bought Bitcoin, but then most of all, he used Monero, right? So he actually used Monero, okay? So Monero, it's the real kind of Bitcoin because it's really private, it's really anonymous, okay? Nobody can trace it. So he was a big Monero advocate, okay? And of course the government, this is when the government really started not liking what he was doing, because he was going around in blockchains, you know, having interviews and stuff, saying who is Satoshi Nakamoto, you see, having wild interviews with a lot of people, talking about how crypto is the best technology and you should use first Bitcoin. Then he was like, no, Bitcoin is trash, because it's not anonymous and it's slow and you cannot put smart contracts on it, so you should use like Monero. Monero is the thing, because criminals use Monero, and criminals, that was his thing. He was always saying like, who do you think used the first fast cars? When a fast car comes out, the first one to buy the fast car were the criminals, you know, back in the days when they used to rob banks. The criminals had the best cars, the best engines, the best technology, and that's always the case. That's the case for Monero as well, right? Monero is the best technology out there because it's fully private, and so he was an advocate for that. And you can listen at his interviews.
Going out by the reef, I'm thinking about, you know, we need a boat system up here.
This is, for example, blockchain conference. I think in Malta or something, somewhere, something like that, and he's around. You see, and you have to listen to this speech. Look at him. He's up there drinking whiskey, talking about
News and some bad news.
Cryptocurrency. He's a legend. So that's where he actually started to really piss off the U.S. government. Also because, but let's get through that later. First, you have to look at this. So this is John, and at his best. After he came back to the US from Belize, he published this video, 420, and this is the video. I think I'm gonna get copyright strikes, but whatever. I'll try to talk on it. Let's see.
Fuck. Send. Oh, hello there. I'm the founder of the McAfee antivirus software company. Although I've had nothing to do with this company for over 15 years, I still get volumes of mail asking, how do I uninstall this software?
Okay.
I have no idea.
He still gets people asking him how to uninstall the software that he created 15 years before, but as I told you in the story, he's no longer part of the company. He sold his shares.
I really need to quit. As I said, I've had nothing to do with McAfee software for over 15 years. I've had more pressing things to do.
That's his wife.
But recent events have made me change my mind. I've had, over the years, many responses from users who are complaining about the difficulty in removing the software. I'd like to read you a few things. Holy fucking shit. I was drawing for like 5 hours straight on this marvelous drawing, and I had to do a big-ass scan that slows the shit out of my computer. It was McAfee, of course. My computer's always really fast, but that son of a bitch has to come fuck it up. Here's another. My free trial for McAfee, or however it's spelled, expired. When it expired, it blocked Pornhub. Fuck McAfee. Fuck them in their stupid faces. I hope they all get dick and cunt rot and die a slow, agonizing death for limiting my porn use to Xhamster. No one should have to use Xhamster. I tried one final time and got the Urban Dictionary that uply used orders all want you to die. So I finally remembered how to uninstall McAfee antivirus software, and I've asked my friend Bartholomew to walk you through the steps. This is my lab tech, Bartholomew. He's going to take you through step by step the process of uninstalling the McAfee antivirus software. Well, say hello, Bartholomew. Yes, so if you need me, I'll be over here, and good luck.
The procedure for removing McAfee antivirus software from your computer is as follows. First, make sure you have a full backup.
Yes, Bartholomew. Back it up. Back it up. That's right.
Yeah,
Very
John.
important. Back it up.
Sir, should I be reading the instructions for the Mac or PC? They're really quite different. Depending on which edition and version of McAfee's anti-malware software is installed on your computer, you may have to click on Remove, Uninstall, or a similarly named option to begin the uninstall process.
15 years ago, I had some beautiful software, and they took it over. I don't know what they did. It was like the time I hired that Bangkok prostitute to do my taxes while I fucked my accountant. It was terrible. The same fucking thing is going on now. But I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. Believe me, I've got a fucking solution right here.
So yeah, this is John, that's his wife, and he's a legend. So that's one video that was a troll, but other than this, he started doing interviews like this one.
Attention, because really, that's all that matters to me. Within a week, the entire government.
So basically here he's explaining how he, what was the real problem. The thing is, he donated as a gift to the US government a lot of laptops. You know, and the government is like, oh, it's John McAfee. He used to work for, you know, intelligence kind of thing, related projects. He's the guy who invented antivirus. You know, we must, you know, let's take these computers. So he donates these computers and he basically hacks into the government. And then he gets a lot of information, you know, about UFO and, you know, sensory, you know, mass surveillance, all sorts of crimes against humanity. So that's the interview. Check it out.
Was that after they had raided my property in 2012 in the jungle, shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of my property over a bogus charge, I was pissed off. And so I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find that. I did find out that the Minister of National Defense was the largest drug trafficker in all of Central America. And the Minister of Immigration, the largest human trafficker.
Well, we don't want to get killed by them either, so we're probably not going to
That's fine, that's fine.
It was getting a little hot in John McAfee's compound, so we decided to step outside. Cheers.
So you see, like, what a legend, guys, what a legend. He donated laptops to the government, so that he hacked into the government, trying to look for stuff about himself, but he didn't find anything on himself. He found stuff about, you know, drug trafficking from the National Security Agency, you know, all these sort of bad things that now we know that they are true, you know, with the Epstein files and stuff like that. But so yeah, but he was a legend. This is another video of him. Check it out. Check it out. This is him with conspiracy theory.
The following program was overseen by certified professionals.
Alex Jones.
Do not try any stunts at home.
Check him out.
Self-defense starts with safety.
He was a really young advocate. So let's take a look at him. So yeah, he was a legend, and he was a legend, and so another thing that he's very famous for saying. So basically, he's now like the crypto guy. He's like the real crypto OG, not just, you know, Vitalik created Ethereum. He's not just like, you know, an investor, a trader. If you actually look at his, listen to his interview, he's like, investing, trading, you need to build. So he was a builder. He was the first one, you know, he was really excited about decentralized exchange and stuff like that. And so he was also famous for his take, and I think his take is very logical, on Satoshi Nakamoto.
I'm just going to hit you with this one, John. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto?
doesn't want to be known, but if you want to find out, I mean, listen, everybody knows who was involved back then in history.
Right.
Google,
Right.
you know, they got Dr. Adam Back. I mean, Craig Wright was there.
Yes, sir.
A whole bunch of people were there. Who is Satoshi? Well, that's the author of the fucking white paper. I don't know if they flipped a coin, drew straws to say who writes it. But if you want to know which one it was, run some authoring software against it, because everybody involved, especially Dr. Dr. Beck.
I don't necessarily agree with this thing particularly. He's saying, Satoshi is probably Adam Beck because the white paper is written in British English, and among the people that are candidate to be Satoshi, he was kind of the only British English guy. But I'm not really sure about that. It could be, but let's say it's not the actual interview. There's so many interviews he did. So basically his idea was that it was a group of 11 people funded by a rich guy. I don't remember if it was I remember him saying a Czech guy, but I don't know. Somebody else is an American guy. So basically there was this kind of rich guy funding 11 people, which probably there was Adam Beck there, Wei Dai, Nick Szabo, all the best people probably, Lance Sussman maybe, all the best people for cryptography were in that team. And then he just decided who's gonna write the white paper, but it's not just one person. So this is John McAfee's best idea. But then anyway, he's really known for saying, forget about Bitcoin, go to Monero. Because Monero, it's the real anonymous thing, so you should use Monero. And he first said, Bitcoin is gonna go to 1 million, and then he said, but then after going to 1 million, it's going to go to 0, because everybody's gonna start using Monero. Unfortunately, not all the people are so smart to realize that they should use Monero instead of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still there. So not all his predictions were right, let's say, because he was kind of an extremist, you could say, right? His views are not the mainstream view. So he's definitely not the best investor. But let's get to the actual part that made him famous lately. So basically he stopped not only paying taxes, but even declaring tax and how much he was making and from where. So he stopped declaring tax things for in 2017 for a few years. He didn't declare anything. He was no, the government. And he by the way, he's one who really pointed out that capital gains tax and taxes on the work, taxing on your wage, on your salary, that tax was only introduced as a temporary tax in the beginning of the last century. It was introduced as a temporary tax, but before there was no tax on your work. There was no tax on the money that you make working. Okay, it was all based on tariffs, and by the way, that's why Trump tried to go back to kind of that mentality, to that system in which the government doesn't make money taxing his own citizen, but makes money because of the business the government makes, and the work is free from money. It's free from, the money you get while working, it's free from taxes. That was his idea. So he was basically advocating for no taxes, not paying taxes and stuff like that. So eventually they get to him, and basically the Supreme Court of the United States issues a warrant of arrest. So they're trying to arrest him. But he's smart. He has, and you have to realize that, the Supreme Court of the United States, okay, so these guys right here, look at them. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't want to be against these guys. You see, this is the Supreme Court. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. You don't want to be. You don't want to be against these guys. The Supreme Court is different from a random court, okay? Because just a normal, regular court. Because what happens is, look at them. They look at like Harry Potter style. Anyway, the difference is that when a judge comes after you for a crime, they have to notice you, that you have been indicted, that you've been investigated, and then you can get a lawyer, an attorney, and then you can, prepare for the trial, and maybe you're gonna get, all this sort of stuff. For the Supreme Court is not like that. They already make the trial before you know that you are being indicted or investigated. So they take a decision on yourself, on your crime before you even know that they are investigating. So they decide you're guilty and they come after you. That's it. That's a simplified way of saying it, but this is kind of how it works. If the Supreme Court is not the court, if the Supreme Court comes after you, you're done. And by the way, this thing only happens in a few countries like the US, Cuba, maybe North Korea, but we don't have this thing in Europe, for example. There's no Supreme Court coming after you. You have to go through the regular judiciary system to get charged. The Supreme Court is not like that. They come after you and they come after you. So what he did, he knew they were coming after him, and I don't know if like a week before or something like that the actual Supreme Court, or the same night maybe that the Supreme Court came for him, he escaped with his yacht, with his dogs, with his guns, with his wife, and I'm sure a few ounces of marijuana, and a lot of crypto. He just took his yacht, took his boat, and went all over the place. He went to Cuba, Puerto Rico, and then he went to who knows where, maybe Portugal, maybe he went to the UK, and he stayed in Europe for a while. So basically the thing is that he escaped all around the world while being hunted by US authorities, the Interpol, the FBI, all these big guys. They were trying to get him, okay? And they were trying to arrest him, and that's why he was like this. Wait for it, isn't that a full one? That's why he was like this, you see. He was, yep. You see he's in the background, you have these gray things. That's because he built a Faraday cage, and also he was using sunglasses. Well, I don't know why the sunglasses, I guess, just because he was too high. But anyway, he built a Faraday cage, okay? So he was living kind of underground style, so that without phones, without, he definitely had the laptop, but, he was always paying with crypto, not using credit cards, not kind of ordering food or anything at his names, using fake documents. He was escaping, and he was on the run. He was on the run for years and years and years. But the legendary thing about him is that still being on the run, he was still having interviews, you see.
Want to get by in life, you got two fucking options: work for somebody or work for yourself. People know, but Janice and I are on the run from the U.S. authorities. I don't even have a bank account. I haven't seen a dollar bill in so long I wouldn't recognize one. You're asking a question that has an extraordinarily moral implication to the answer. Psychedelics changed.
So, yeah, that's him.
My life.
While being on the run, he's still having interview for us. He's just doing it for us, bro. He's telling us how to live, how to get free, and all these sort of things. But unfortunately, then he gets caught in the late in 2020, the whole COVID thing was out, and it was kind of difficult to travel and to be, an outlaw criminal on the run in 2020. So in Europe especially. Eventually, unfortunately, he gets arrested. Okay, so in 2020, at Barcelona International Airport, while attempting to board on a flight to Istanbul, he was detained on a lot of charges, tax evasion, fraud, cryptocurrency-related crimes. And by the way, of course, he was using a fake ID. So that's him, Look at him, he was always joyful. And then, unfortunately, he suicided on just a few months later, or 1 year later, in prison, in this prison right here in Spain, just outside Barcelona. So that's where he died. But this was his last tweet, and very important one. In a democracy, power is given, not taken. But it is still power. Love, compassion, caring have no use for power. But it is fuel for greed, hostility, jealousy. All power corrupts. Take care which powers you allow a democracy to wield. So yeah, that's his last word. And I mean, just look at his last tweets. And people saying he was abstained because, in prison he says, I'm content here, I have friends, the food is good, all is well. Know that if I hang myself a la Epstein, it will be no fault of mine. Okay? He said it, and this is not the only tweet, there are other tweets. He was still allowed to tweet while being in prison. And he's saying, I'm content here, I have friends, food is good, all is well. If I hang myself, guys like Epstein, you have to know that it's not gonna be me. The only thing I miss is my wife and stuff like that. But he didn't suicide. Okay, he didn't suicide. This is look, he's the king. He is actually the king. While being in prison, probably still high. And you see, John McAfee didn't kill himself. Okay, a lot of people saying John McAfee didn't kill himself. John McAfee didn't kill himself. John McAfee didn't kill himself. He didn't kill himself. Okay, that's still him talking.
The deep state is a conspiracy theory it's defined as the people within the U.S. government and military who are in secret control of government policy. Secret? Please, people. The deep state is those people within the U.S. government that are career employees that cannot be fired by people that we elect, by the Congress or the President. There are the FCC, the CIA, the Securities and Exchange Commission.
But yeah, here it's talking about the deep state that is not so deep, and but anyway, the point is, he was found dead, and that's what we got. So yeah, he was found dead, but people say that he didn't kill himself, and so yeah, that's the end of it. I simply refuse to play by the rules. So that's how it ended, and that's the story of the legend John McAfee. You can look at the full story here, and you can get more info on why he probably did not kill himself, and the condition of how he passed away. He had some shoestring tied to the neck, but he was found still breathing, and then he died, and then there is no security footage, all these kind of things that makes absolutely zero sense. So he was probably whacked, and because he had too many secrets. And yeah, that's the story of John McAfee. I hope you like it. Please check the full interview here. And John, if you're listening, you're a legend. Bye-bye.
How do you do that? I can't do it.
Spy, don't do
You got to be a bitch. Look at this. Look at that beauty. Look at this
That
beauty.
is beautiful.
Is that not beautiful? And it has to go up the nose.
I'm trying. I'm not a professional like you, sir. But cheers anyways.
You're welcome.
Cheers anyways.
Cheers, baby.
Thanks for listening, and leave a like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.